Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
It's amazing. And
That's remarkable.
You know, sometimes it's weird when I see you on a Saturday and then we go to record on a Sunday. I'm like, didn't we just do this yesterday?
Stevie gets really thrown off, I think.
When she sees you 2 straight days.
Yeah, or if I come over and I don't sit down on the couch and pull the microphone up.
Yeah. But I feel like I burned some of my best stuff yesterday, IRL. I think you agree. I think you were into my whole, like, curmudgeon vibe yesterday at the concert that we were at.
I was. It was enjoyable. It was like lest you try and enjoy the concert that's going on stage.
I was enjoying the
thoughts
concert.
about the audience.
I did have thoughts about the audience.
Yeah.
But that happens. You know, sometimes the audience is not exactly your vibe. I feel like that happens often when I'm at a show where I like one of the bands a lot and the other bands I'm like, or they're good, but they're not my favorite band.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a skeptic.
Right. If everyone is not enjoying the band at the same level as you, what the fuck are they even doing there?
Yeah, exactly. They should leave. Go home. We're talking about music, but it's not the music that I wanted to cold open and talk to you about today.
Right. Yeah.
The thing that I wanted to ask you about, Alex, is when was the last time you were down bad crying at the gym? More broadly, have you ever been down bad crying in a public place? And for this week's episode of Tipping Pitches Therapy, would you like to recount that and what happened?
That's a great question. Not in a public place, I don't think. I keep my emotions guarded.
Because of masculinity?
You know? Exactly.
So you're not allowed to cry in public?
Exactly. Well, because I'm afraid there's going to be someone watching there, watching the emotions that I'm putting on display and being like, not really my vibe. Sorry.
Kind of like me at the show yesterday.
Exactly. Like you at the show.
So you've never cried in public?
I mean, I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
It's New York. It
exactly.
rings you.
I've certainly lost it
you.
on a couple streets, you know, a couple streets in and around the Union Square area.
Yeah. I feel like it isn't necessarily when I'm down bad, though. You know? Like
that's because that's a dumb lyric.
Like it.
Also, who cries at the gym? You know, you're at the gym to get out a different kind of energy and emotion.
Yeah, but you never know, right? I mean, that's when you're putting in gains, it's like you don't really know what's going to come out of you. You got the endorphins flowing.
Is that how you feel when you're putting in gains?
Yeah, it is how I feel. Just sobbing doing deadlifts.
Deadlifts? You went for deadlifts?
I do deadlifts, yeah.
That's what you do at home?
Mm-hmm.
We should, as a project, get gym memberships together. I don't see how that has any. Maybe it's like a wellness perk from the podcast.
There you go.
Remember we had a whole back and forth about different types of exercise that we could get you into?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever came of that.
Because our employer doesn't offer us healthcare, right? But they do offer us the ancillary mental health benefits.
We could offer healthcare.
That's, I guess.
To each other.
Would you like some healthcare, Bobby?
Our healthcare is like, how you feeling? You did or did not go to medical school?
I went to a school that teaches medicine. I went to a school that has a medical school.
Kind of. It's like in a separate location from where we actually went to school. My favorite thing about NYU is that they just buy all of the solutions to their problems. They're like, we want to have a medical school. We'll just buy one.
Yeah.
We want to have an engineering school. We'll just buy a whole university rather than like developing anything on their own. They're just grifting off of other people.
It's a good business model.
Seems that way.
It seems to work out for them. Is New York University like the Dodgers of academia?
Yeah, they're playing paycheck academics.
Right.
I mean, kind of. Yeah. No, they're more like the Diamond Baseball holdings of academia.
There you go.
Today on the podcast, we are going to talk about Diamond Baseball Holdings. Honestly, I don't think we're going to do very much Taylor Swift chat on account of the fact that we opened up the mailbag. And you know what? We didn't get a lot of questions about the album.
Yeah,
probably because it's 2 hours long and it's only been out for 2 days. And people, not naming anybody like myself, for example, have only had time to listen to it once. So we're not going to do the full back half of the podcast album review that we did for Midnights, which in retrospect, one of our more curious choices.
It was a choice. That whole episode was a choice.
Yes, it was after we did a live show that we said we would release on the podcast feed and never did.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot to pack a microphone, and so I was holding the internal microphone from the Zoom recorder, and we were sitting in my childhood home in the kitchen,
discussing the new Taylor Swift record.
Yep, across the kitchen
podcast.
table from each other. Great stuff. I feel proud of that decision. We are going.
I do too. I think it was universally beloved by the listeners.
Everybody's like, "Yeah, I'm so in."
Mm-hmm.
We pod for the people who don't hear Taylor Swift opinions anywhere else. You know, that's us.
They're few and far between.
That's
these
what
days.
we're here for. Diamond Baseball Holdings, lifetime ban in the NBA. You have a slogan for the Oakland Athletics, or maybe a couple options. Are we going to throw out a few choices?
I may ask
down?
for help narrowing it down,
Okay.
but I have my mindset.
And then we just have a lot of questions from listeners, a lot of voicemails that I'm really excited to get to. But before we do that, I am Bobby Wagner.
I'm Alex Baisley.
And you are listening to Tipping Pitches. Thank you to this week's new patrons, A-Wright and Chelsea. Both A-Rod tier patrons. Now, the A-Rod tier is going great. Is that because people think that the A-Rod tier, we actually give the money to A-Rod and that will help him before the Timberwolves? Or are people just really interested in listening to the bonus episodes? What do you think?
I think it's an investment on his next venture.
Which is, according to our bingo card.
Okay, so I'm not at liberty to say.
Okay.
Because it hasn't been I don't want to be accused of insider trading, disclosing non-public information.
Can we purchase stock in his SPAC? Has it actually gone public yet? A-Rod Corp? And if so, I gotta say, it feels a little bit like we're derelict in our duty
negligent
of
if
not
we haven't
owning part of A-Rod Corp. We could put that in our bio if we did. Tipping Pitches. A podcast trying to nationalize our national pastime. Stockholders in A-Rod Corp.
So, I mean, we can purchase stock in Slam Corp.
Okay, do that now.
Okay,
actually,
hang on.
legitimately do that now. Go get the business card.
I'm downloading Robinhood.
Oh man, Robinhood.
Mm-hmm.
No, they did the GameStop dudes dirty.
Exactly.
So you're going to download Robinhood and give them that money? I think you should go straight to JP Morgan. 50 shares of Slam Corp, sirs.
No, absolutely not. This is for the people,
Just like Robinhood?
Yeah. The retail investor strikes back.
Okay, buy some
Okay,
stock.
I'm buying some stock right now.
Buy some stock.
It's currently at $11.04. Are we shorting the stock or are we banking on it to go up?
Obviously banking on it to go up.
Okay, naturally.
Hold.
I mean, it is on the rise.
Can I get the 6-month report? 52. What's the 52-week high and 52-week low? I'm going to try to come up with as many words that I can.
52-week high was $11.17.
Okay.
The low was $10.34.
Okay. So we're not in quite penny stock territory, but we're close.
But that low was almost a year ago, and it has ballooned since then.
And what is it that they do exactly?
Yeah.
What do they do?
Right.
And do they make anything?
Okay.
And is there a product that I can see? Sounds good.
Uh-huh.
Great work by you there.
Well, they purchased a telecommunications company. I think we talked about this, right?
No recollection.
Okay. Well, they did. It's like a cell phone company.
They're selling cell phones?
They're selling cell phones.
Trying to bring back BlackBerry?
No, it's more like democratizing communication. It's like
I could get behind that.
Affordable cell phone. I know. It's like
Boost Mobile.
Yes, actually.
What's the Ryan Reynolds one called? I'm having a tough time talking today. Probably because of the tinnitus in my ears from the show that we were at last night.
Is it? It's not Cricket.
Mint.
Oh, okay.
Mint Mobile. Drinking mint tea. That's what reminded me of it. Mint Mobile's doing very well for Ryan Reynolds. As well, so is Aviation Gin, I hear.
Link Global. That's A-Rod's venture. This was back in December that they partnered up with Slam Corp. They're the world's leading satellite direct-to-standard phone. Satellite direct-to-standard phones.
What are some other satellite direct-to-standard phone companies? Competitors in the space.
They pale in comparison to Link Global.
It's essentially a monopoly, is what you're
not
telling
even,
me.
Frankly, it's not even worth discussing the others. I know what they are.
They just don't even warrant. They don't even merit naming on the Tipping Pitches podcast. All right.
It's nice going to Slam Corp's page and seeing what people also own.
On Robinhood?
Yeah, on Palantir.
I don't know what that is.
That's Peter Thiel's surveillance.
Oh, it's not his blood transfusion situation.
They're all kind of one and the same,
Yeah.
Yeah. DraftKings,
That's funny.
Virgin Galactic Holdings. All right, we're getting less interesting.
So you could just see what other people purchase. Like this is like a podcast, Apple Podcast.
Right,
Here's what other people are
recommended
listening
stocks,
to.
Yes.
We are so through the looking glass. It's unbelievable. Holy shit. And what exactly is it that they do again?
Who?
Slam Corp.
Well, they're a SPAC. They help other companies go public.
Earnestly, from the bottom of my heart, and from an intellectual perspective, I just want to understand. And so if there's somebody listening who could get this segment to Mr. Rodriguez in the hopes that he might come on here and explain what Slam Corp does to an audience of thousands and thousands of people who are curious, who are engaged,
We're looking for that next big investment.
who are passionate, who can get the Robinhood app and invest in his stock. If he's willing to come here, much like he might go on CNBC, right? That's the business one?
That's the business one.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of CNBC.
It's on right now.
Squawk Box.
Wow.
I only know that because of Steve Cohen. And the show Billions, which is about Steve Cohen.
Right.
Then I would like that
Big
person
mad,
who's listening.
Mad money guy.
What?
It's
No, you've lost me.
all right.
With a second TV show
All
that's
right.
on CNBC. Come on, I am just but one man. Okay?
You're not on that Jim Cramer.
I'm
beat,
watching.
bro?
I'm watching NHL hockey. I'm watching Serie A. I'm watching NBA, and I'm watching a lot of baseball. And of course, I watch at least a movie a day. How could I watch multiple CNBC shows, Alex? Come on.
That's where I come in, right? Is like we divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer is the methodology of the Tipping Pitches podcast. What do you watch? What do you get down to?
On CNBC.
Or just in general? You watching a lot of TV these days? Are you watching a lot of
Really?
baseball?
I'm watching a decent amount of it. I'm not watching a ton of scripted television shows these days. I think with
You're
baseball,
going to say scripted games.
scripted games.
It's open your third eye.
We're all watching scripted games.
Yeah,
bro.
exactly. Scripted by the fucking sports books.
I am watching more baseball. I'm kind of enjoying it.
That's good.
I am divesting from the A's a little bit emotionally. I mean, I still tune in. It depends on the week, really. I think
I
you're
seem to remember a
familiar with this
4-hour
sentiment.
podcast that we did where you officially divested from the A's, and now 7 months, 10 months, whatever later, you're like, I'm divesting from the A's a little bit.
Yeah, whether or not that segment was a bit kind of just depends on how the A's are doing this week
Yes, and how the Phillies are doing.
and how the Phillies are doing.
You're wearing a Phillies hat right now.
I'm wearing a
I just
Phillies hat right
realized.
now. They're currently beating the White Sox 4-2. So
I mean, that's not saying much.
no, it's not.
If they were losing to the White Sox, the city of Philadelphia would be burning.
But I bet the spread on them, so I'm pulling for them.
When you say bet the spread, what do you mean?
No,
No, I want to hear.
well, it's like there are good teams and bad teams,
And there's a
and
spread,
there's a spread between them.
Earnestly, do you know what betting the spread
I
means?
do know what that is, yes.
Good. I was just curious, because we talk about sports betting a lot. And I don't know, I've been fucking force-fed all these
I
terms.
know,
I have
yeah.
to know them because you know why. And I don't want to
Because
say
you
why
wanna
because
win.
we're on the main feed. But if I was on the Patreon feed, I would say why. Why I have to know so much about betting, sports betting. We should talk about Diamond Baseball Holdings before one of us gets ourselves in
But
trouble.
first, today's game lines. I'm taking the Orioles.
Bet365.
Yep.
FanDuel.
No, DraftKings, bro. Those are the people who hold Slam Corp.
Except I do have a video of you saying FanDuel, like cheering for
That
FanDuel,
is
like
true.
their sports team.
Kind of years ago too. Ahead
Yeah.
of our time with that one.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk vulture capital?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay.
All I see is small business owners trying to make it good in America.
Yeah.
All I see is baseball development. We're referring, of course, to Diamond Baseball Holdings, which is a story that I do think has come up on Tipping Pitches maybe once or twice, but very briefly. This is a new company, venture capital funded company that is buying up minor league baseball teams. They are founded by a guy who used to run an apparel company and a guy who used to be a minor league baseball owner. They now own, in the blink of an eye, over 25% of the 120 minor league baseball teams. I believe it's 32 of 120. A big article in The Athletic dropped 6 days ago, written by Chad Jennings, Evan Drellick, and Sam Blum, just chronicling how it got to this point and all of the different macroeconomic trends in baseball that created space for a company like this, and why the incentive structure for why a company like this might want to get so heavily involved in minor league baseball. I think you and I had designs on doing a story kind of like this, or talking to people about maybe what the impacts of something like this might be on the minor league game. Obviously, we care a lot about minor league baseball. I had 3 takeaways from the Diamond Baseball Holdings article in The Athletic. Okay, you ready for my 3 takeaways?
Yeah.
Takeaway number 1, venture capital rules. Optimization is good. And one baseball is the only way forward. I read that article and I was like, they're making some points.
Yeah.
Good stuff all around.
All right. Yeah. Well said. I don't have anything to add to it. I think we should move on. You want to go to voicemails?
No, I'm just kidding. There's the link is in the description. I think that if you're interested in the health of minor league baseball, this is worth a read. We will at some point talk about this in more depth. We will probably do more segments and interviews about this topic in the future. As it stands now, 32 of 120 baseball teams clearly interested in expanding their profile, situating themselves very nicely to be influential the next time the contracts, the licenses with the major leagues run out. They're on like a 10-year contract at the moment that I think they signed 3 years ago. So it's still a ways away. I guess like for the purposes of the average fan of broader baseball, but minor league baseball specifically, to you, is this like is their presence and what they're doing a cause for concern?
I think there's always cause for concern when an international private equity conglomerate comes in and starts making investments in your sport or whatever it is, the product that you're engaging with. Because are they doing it because they believe in it and want to see it succeed and love it in the same way that we do?
That's what they say they're doing
That's
it
what
for.
they say. That's what they all say.
It's kind of like what you have to say.
Right, exactly. And the answer is that like they see this as a good investment, right? Like they see money that's probably being left on the table here as a result of the kind of hodgepodge of ownership that
Yes.
has largely made up minor league baseball over the last few decades, right? I think the thinking, and you know, there's the jury is still very much out on like kind of what the end goal of this is. But I think from their perspective, you can probably make a case of like, hey, if we can streamline a lot of these things and standardize the way these teams are run,
Yes.
there's probably a way to trim some fat here. Again, in the name of quote unquote efficiency, and make some small gains. Again, it's not like these are necessarily billion-dollar valuations like Major League Baseball teams, but in the aggregate, like it's a
Certainly can add up
decent
into the
investment.
billions.
Yeah.
I think there was like there's some record-setting sale prices for some of the minor league teams, like in the close to $100 million range.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like you said, multiply that by 32. We're talking like owning a single MLB franchise levels of valuation, even if it's not the same, even close to the same level of revenue, because these teams are operating on smaller budgets with less expense, obviously, because the major league teams pay the salaries of the players, which is the main expense of any baseball team professionally. I think that we're at an interesting life cycle of this story because for the teams that they have bought, many of them, they have upgraded the facilities because they're cash rich right now. They, in the aggregate, have much more money to invest than maybe an individual owner would have had to invest, like the mom and pop style business of owning a minor league baseball team, whatever that means, even though that stereotype I feel like is maybe carrying over from like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So right now it seems like they're sort of additive. They're making the product better. They're making the training, the player development better because they're trying to align themselves with the league office side and with the major league side. So they're trying to give the major league teams exactly what they're asking for, which is like high-tech facilities to help train their players in the way that they would be trained if they could all be on the major league team. And they're also in the stage of refashioning the business model into the way that a conglomerate runs their business, which is like national level advertising, premium sponsors, not just local, carpenters advertising in the outfield. They want to get FBM, for example, the largest building manufacturing distributor for drywall, I think. They want to get companies like that because then you start talking about existing in the same ecosystem as the major league teams, where it's just incredibly lucrative to own one of those teams. And there's a lot of financial power. There's a lot of soft political power that comes with that. And these guys fashion themselves as like there's quotes in there about how they're like, we understand Des Moines, we understand Peoria. The league has a harder time. They exist in New York and LA and San Francisco, but we're where the true American is, and we can bring these MBA macroeconomic principles to these smaller towns across America, and we can keep baseball thriving. I'm just going to come right out and say that's just nonsense. Because whether or not they understand these towns, that doesn't matter to me. I don't know these people. Venture capital doesn't work for anybody but the venture capitalists and the business owners who succeed. Everybody else gets shafted because the whole model is we give you money, you give us return. There's not a lot in there for everybody else to not even get rich, to just like survive. It's done it to every industry that it has ever touched, and it will do it to baseball. There is a reason there was so much reticence to allow venture capitalists, stockbrokers, these sorts of money, wealth management people into the game. Those walls have come down. Now we have hedge fund billionaire owners like Steve Cohen. For a long time, we didn't have that. We had guys who like either inherited fortunes or like actually made American products. And there, whatever ethnocentrism that was coloring that, which is for certain that was the reason it was that way, there was like silver linings to that, at least in that not every owner for a long period of time was just like a spreadsheet guy. And it's ironic because Steve Cohen seems to be the guy who cares the least about the Mets spreadsheet. But to me, it's like it's cause for concern because the margins for minor league baseball are already so slim. And so when you put the stakes of venture capital behind it, I got news for you, man. Like in 7 years, these guys are not going to be getting rich off of this. Whoever's giving them this money to do these things is going to be like, time to give it back. And then what? Is the growth plan for minor league baseball to become this huge cash cow? Because that doesn't really serve communities either. If they're just making choices based on how do we get the revenue line to go up,
right? Well, it's
perpetuity.
Like, what is the point of minor league baseball? Is it to be the driver of revenue for Major League Baseball? No, it's the developmental league for Major League Baseball and a way to bring the sport of baseball to more communities than the 30 in which there are major league teams. Those to me are like the
31 if the Rays have anything to say about it.
That's right. That's kind of it.
Yes.
If you make money off of it, it is a silver lining, I think. I mean, I guess not for the folks who invested in it because there's a certain you are expecting a certain amount of return, but there's also an expectation that like you're doing this because like not solely because of the bottom line. And I worry about that pursuit of efficiency sanding down the edges of minor league baseball and frankly the uniformity that could come from this, because part of what minor league baseball rests on is this individuality, the uniqueness, the difference in stadiums and traditions and the ways that quirky minor league owners like decide to deploy their resources in support of the team. You could argue that maybe that's a vestige of a different era and that a sport shouldn't exist like that, as a hodgepodge of ownership groups who are kind of making their own decisions for their minor league teams. But like, I don't have a problem with it. As a fan, having this mishmash of owners does not detract from my experience watching minor league baseball. And I worry that bringing in one group as the umbrella for dozens and dozens of teams, I don't know, we'll start to create a more homogenous look for the sport that is maybe not what fans are looking for.
Almost certainly. It kind of reminds me of how the internet happened, where if you think of minor league baseball teams as websites or different communities online, the more those start to merge into each other, the more one company controls them all. The more websites, social media platforms, whatever, that are completely controlled by Google or AWS, it's all just the same now. And
right. It's the internetification of everything.
Yes. And it sucks.
Yeah.
And it's homogenous and it's bad. And now the internet is not fun in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And they're coming right out and saying that that's what they want to do, by the way. From the article, when Battle is one of the guys. When Battle approached the league office, MLB not only offered reassurance he was reading the tea leaves correctly, the league connected him with a willing partner who had deep baseball connections. Quote, they saw it as a significant investment in minor league baseball. It's exactly what they were looking to do themselves. And within a week or two, I received a call from the commissioner's office saying you need to meet Peter. As a longtime minor league owner of the Memphis Redbirds, Charleston River Dogs, and Williamsport Crosscutters, Freund was an insider. This is Peter Freund. This is one of the co-founders. He was friends with the other owners, familiar with the league office, and had been working with the commissioner's office to enact the restructuring. Quote, this was MLB's opportunity to really take this thing and bring it up to the next level. So they're coming right out and saying it like we are the industry plant of Major League Baseball. We are here to put into place the one baseball prophecy. We are here to do it for Rob. He connected us. He found basically like match made our company. That's bad. That's a bad thing for people like you and I who are invested in the whims and services and benefits of Major League Baseball's corporate office being the thing that dictates what baseball looks like and what baseball operates. Everybody having to fall in line with what MLB wants is bad for the sport, lowercase b baseball.
I'm also just like, do you need the money that badly that you're like auctioning off slices of your sport and the league to private equity?
I mean, I don't know if they need the money as much as they want the control. Like they want every piece rowing in the same direction, whatever they decide that direction is. Like to put in place their total world domination plan, quite literally, they want to dominate the world. We have a question about this later in the mailbag. They need to have everybody on board, right? And the more places that are saying no, and they have like the legal right to say no, the harder it is for them. The more time they spend bribing local governments, leaning on minor league owners. I think that they honestly, here's what I think happened. I think that Rob and MLB and the owners were really embarrassed by what happened, the pushback that they got for how they handled cutting 40 minor league teams. Everybody was mad. There's been a shitload of lawsuits. There's been the attempts to repeal the antitrust exemption because of the way that they behaved unilaterally with the minor league teams. They went back on agreements. They ripped up deals. They crossed their fingers behind their back while making handshake deals. They just acted despicably. And I think that if you have Diamond Baseball Holdings and they're all buddy-buddy, You could cut as many of their
You can
teams
just go
as
to
you
them,
want if
yeah.
you just make them whole. You don't give a shit. Like if they own 50 teams, like, sorry guys, this round you're losing 2. Who cares? Who gives a shit? It's like the Rule 5 draft, but for minor league teams. That's what I think. That's what I think happened. That's why I think they exist.
That's good. Our sport's doing well.
Legacy moment for Rob.
Yes.
He's like, fall back in line, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm in charge here. I feel confident that more reporting will come out about how this business operates and what their goals are.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. They have now been thrust into a spotlight that is hypercritical, I think.
It's always a bad sign when the thing you watch is being brought into an investment portfolio.
Yep.
Where it's like,
yeah,
okay, so they are invested in minor league baseball, Airbnb, like SoFi.
Yep, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Slam Corp?
This is not Slam Corp. We should put them on that.
Yeah. Do you think they know about Slam Corp?
Stock's going up.
They probably don't know about Slam Corp because no one knows what they do.
Exactly. You'd be like, hey, have you heard of satellite too direct, too fast,
too furious,
too communication?
Okay. I think that that's our cue to move on. NBA player John Tay Porter was banned for life this past week from playing in the National Basketball Association. Are you familiar with why he was banned?
I am.
Is it just because he was mean?
Yes. He was just a bad hang.
No, Alex, no, it was not, because he was betting on himself.
Which is a crime, apparently, to bet on yourself.
No, he was having a friend or an associate place wagers on his prop bets to make tens of thousands of dollars, even though he was making hundreds of thousands of dollars in an NBA salary.
Which, to be clear,
strange story.
I didn't know it wasn't allowed when he asked me to do that. I thought I was just doing him a solid.
Which app?
Well, DraftKings,
of course. I don't have a lot to say about this that hasn't already been said. The hypocrisy, the way the league is handling this, it's real. We told you exactly what was going to happen. It happened. Oh no, I'm so sorry. We'll change it slightly. Oh, we're gonna put in place more guidelines. We're gonna make it so that this doesn't happen again. Okay, sure. I think the reason that I wanted to talk about this today is because it's really just like tick, 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 tick. This is coming.
Yep.
For baseball. Everybody watch. I can't wait to cross it off the Tipping Pitches bingo card. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great. We should have just done professional athlete gets suspended. But
yeah, I know.
It's okay.
But no, when we were like doing our planning for the season, it was like
that felt too easy.
We talked about like we should do an episode on like a prospective gambling scandal, I
think we should still do that.
I think we should too, but also now 2 of the ideas have been taken
by reality,
by the sports world. Exactly.
Yeah. With the other one being Diamond Baseball Holdings deep dive.
Yeah.
That truly wasn't our preseason brainstorming list, but that's okay. It's just like in multiple sports, in a sports league, it's sports leagues where guys are showing up driving Tesla trucks in spades. You expect them to follow the gambling rules? Those guys are taking fucking gambles with their life every day getting in that thing. You think they're not going to place some bets?
I wonder how much the NBA and to an extent other sports leagues almost appreciate a story like this because it shows that they're willing to come down hard and say like, hey, look, the playing field is safe.
Make an example out of them.
Exactly. Like, look, if there's anything that's not on the up and up, we're going to find it. We're going to get to the bottom of it.
Stop and frisk for the NBA betting
and
rules.
Make sure that our players are safe. Not our basketball players, but the gambling players.
Yes.
Right.
Our partners.
Right. Exactly.
Partners. You gotta get that right. Partners.
Like you can use this to signal basically that the all clear. We've got the all clear. This sport is safe to gamble on.
I know it seems ridiculous to say this because it's just like such a plain fact and many people have already made this point. And to be fair, these games were irrelevant for an irrelevant team for a pretty irrelevant player. Just insanely stupid behavior on his part, by the way.
Yeah.
But you are an absolute fool if you think gambling is not affecting the integrity of professional sports. You're a fool.
Yeah.
If you think that. Even if guys are not intentionally throwing games like Jonte Porter essentially was, the pressure associated with gambling is affecting the performance of players. They're saying it. They're coming out and saying it. Coaches are saying it. The death threats that they're getting for performing one way or the other, whether or not it's intentional by the players, there's a psychological effect that is having.
Yeah, the discussion of like prop bets, right?
You just opted in to affecting the integrity of your sport, when integrity in sports is the only thing that matters above all else. So we must ban Jonte Porter for life. Like, I have a really good solution, and they're choosing to take the path less traveled.
What? Which is that being
stop fucking betting. Yeah, exactly. If you don't want the integrity, you don't want all these problems, just get your cash from somewhere else. There's plenty of other places.
Yeah. That don't
always
necessarily require grifting off of like vulnerable folks.
It's always the lowest hanging fruit. They always just take the first thing that is willing to write them the check. They don't really care what it is. It's NFTs, it's gambling, it's
right, because you know who gets left holding
submarines.
The bag?
It doesn't matter.
Consumers.
Yeah.
It's okay. They'll bounce back. Where else are they going to go? What other national professional basketball association are they going to go watch?
It's the churn. It's the consumer churn too. They don't care if people go bankrupt, by the way. That's good for them because that helps the banks that also hold the loans.
Well, and here's the thing
that they take to build their new stadiums and buy their new teams and buy up real estate around their ballparks. They need those banks to be okay. So they need you to go bankrupt gambling on sports so that you can be in debt to the banks so that the banks can continue to profit.
Well, also, you say going bankrupt. I say you're one parlay away from financial freedom.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and go to the parlay of the week by Alex Paisley. No, well, we are going to go to your slogan for the Oakland Athletics. I am taking side action on what it will be.
Okay.
But that's part of my underground sports book. ESPN Bet, by the way, is such a fucking sham. What is that?
Not your sports book of choice?
They just made their own sports book, and they're also a media outlet, and they're also a broadcaster of the leagues. They put the games on there, and they do the bets, and they write about the games.
I think it's good that one of the two biggest journalists in basketball, and frankly, American sports, has an exclusive partnership with FanDuel.
Oh, Shams?
Yeah. I don't see a problem with it.
Do you remember when Shams was like doing his fucking interview tour about how he's on his phone 19 hours a day?
Yeah.
I was like, we need a hard reset. Whatever way it comes, we need a hard reset on society. That he's like on TV and he has multiple phones in his hands and he's like screen time 20 hours. I'm like, dude, you are unwell. You need a therapist. You don't need to stop partnering with sportsbooks. You need to go to therapy, brother.
Or some blue light glasses, at least.
20/20 vision on Shams, I hear.
Right. Word on the street. Yeah, but that's not about vision. That's about like
headaches.
Yeah. Exposure to that much.
At this point, he's working on a 20-year headache because he just doesn't sleep. So he doesn't even feel it anymore. Been there.
Yeah. Well, at this point, why stop now, too, you know?
I know, just double down.
You've made so much progress.
Just like the parlay. You're just one.
Exactly.
You're one breaking news tweet away.
Don't cash out now.
Winning it all back. Shams is probably a good guy, right? Integrity is a word I would use to describe for his reporting.
Yes, same.
Yeah. A is slogan.
A is slogan, yeah.
I'm just going to keep doing jokes like this until you start talking about the A's.
This was hard for me. I won't lie. I mean, it was hard for me, and then once I got the juices flowing, slogans started coming out left and right. And so I may need
Don Draper, sort of.
Yes, exactly. I'm doing my Mad Men rewatch, and I think
rewatch or first watch.
First watch. Okay. Don't know why I said rewatch.
It's just that word is just so in the lexicon.
Yes,
I blame Bill Simmons.
I model myself after him.
After Bill?
Yes.
See, I was going to edit that out because I usually wouldn't talk about the Ringer on the podcast, but that was just such a funny moment. I think I have to leave it in.
The Oakland A's. Heard of them? Soon to be the A's.
Right. They took the wrong lesson from the Social Network, by the way.
What
they
dropped
dropped
the name?
the city name, not the.
Right.
Drop the. Just Facebook.
Just A's. I'm going to see A's today. It suggests that like you were going to see like some A's, but you're not specifying.
Right.
Like I'm going to see Oakland A's today. Oh, which ones?
The A's should play inside the Sphere. It's big enough.
That would be.
It's probably bigger than the Trop.
Yeah. Well, you could just project fans onto the screens around. That stadium's going to be packed.
Would you pay $1 to be one of the pixels of fans on the Sphere watching A's?
Without a doubt, I'd pay way more than
watching
that.
A's.
Watching A's. I would.
We got business ideas. You can't say we don't.
Mm-hmm.
They are tongue in cheek, but somebody listening would be like, "Great idea." Great idea.
Silver Lake, Endeavor, or Diamond Base. It's Silver Lake, which owns Endeavor, which owns Diamond Baseball Holding, but then Silver Lake bought Diamond Baseball Holding. Anyway, it's the Silver Lake money.
Naturally,
we're going after.
Naturally, Silver Lake, the town I used to live in.
There you go. That's your hometown private equity team right there.
My hometown, Los Angeles, California.
Yes, yeah.
Slogans.
For sale. Baseball team never won. Now, it's a little tough because they have won the World Series, but under John
Don't remind me.
Fisher's, yeah,
Don't remind me.
Under John Fisher's tenure as owner, they have never won, and frankly, the tea leaves, if you want to read into them a little bit, are that Fisher may be juicing the value of this investment prior to his ultimate exit.
I just don't get that. It's similar to how I felt when the Nationals, when the Lerners were like, "We want to sell the Nationals, but we'll trade Juan Soto first." Why wouldn't you let the new owner decide whether or not they wanted to trade Juan Soto?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you let the new owner of A's decide whether they wanted them to be in Oakland, a far more significant market than Las Vegas, a town that fucking hates the idea of them coming, and there's nobody who's going to go, and no stadium, and no place to put the stadium, by the way, and all those pretty renderings are irrelevant because they don't even own the plot of land that they were going to build it on.
That's correct.
Just so everybody remembers what we're dealing with here. Okay, for sale, baseball team never won. What about? Okay, I want to hear them all first.
Okay, all right. So
I got ridiculed for not knowing which slogan I was going to go with on the New York Mets last week by you and Hannah. And we come in here and you probably have like 4 options.
I got 4 different options, you know. No, so I'm just giving you some insight into the creative process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going down the list in order. I thought Everything Must Go.
That's good.
Which I kind of like. I also kind of like, similar along these lines, Everyone Leaves.
Okay.
One hurts a little bit more. But, you know, it's a reminder of the fleeting nature of life.
Yes. Have you ever watched the television show One Tree Hill?
You know, I haven't, Bobby. I've gathered some insights through osmosis, but
one of the characters who is really annoying. Really annoying.
Yeah.
Classic like 2000s sitcom thing where you just write one of the female characters to be as annoying as possible just to excite everybody's internal misogyny.
Right.
To ignite that. That's her kind of slogan. Everybody leaves. That's what she says about her life. She gets abandoned by her mother. She gets broken up with several times.
So it sounds like she's right.
Someone pretends to be her fake brother and tries to murder her.
Right. Like,
and then her real brother comes and saves the day.
Oh.
Surprise. Shocker. He's black. He's her half brother. She's white.
Was it a surprise to her?
A surprise to everyone.
Okay.
The viewer as well.
But it was also a surprise to her?
Yes.
She'd never met this person
No.
before. Okay.
Because everybody leaves.
Right.
So she had never met him. It was also just recently in a very important anniversary for the greatest episode of television ever, which occurred on the aforementioned One Tree Hill. The episode where the villain of the show, the father of the 2 boys,
Dan, needs a heart transplant. And they have the heart transplant.
I've
and it's
seen
in
this.
a cooler.
Yeah.
And then the nurse trips over a dog. The dog steals the heart and eats it.
See,
so legendary.
you can't make TV like that anymore.
And if you don't read another slogan, I'm going to keep recapping One Tree Hill episodes and their events.
I'll let you go.
There's like several podcasts out there that just do that. So
I know.
you need to be in their lane.
Here was the last one that I landed on because, and maybe it's a little too on the nose or a little too easy, but I figured who else's words to use to describe the Oakland A's but the man himself, Sean Fisher.
Okay.
Because he put it better than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a lot worse for me than you.
That's a direct quote.
Yeah. You don't
I remember it, but
okay.
that's exactly what he said.
That's exactly what he said.
That's really funny. It has been a lot worse for him than you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting over here
yucking it up
in Brooklyn, being a fake Mets fan, being a fake Phillies fan.
He's like, I've been an
being
owner
a fake agnostic.
Of A's for years.
He's held it down. And
through thick and thin.
The evil leftist city council of Oakland is out there to try to crucify him for being a good, honest American businessman.
Yeah.
He brought us the Gap. You'll remember.
Yep. Or at least his parents did.
That's right. At least he's shepherding the portfolio of the people who brought us the Gap.
Yeah.
Okay? That's hard work. And he's done a lot of things that you could consider hard work in his time owning the A's. He's improved a lot of things. The stadium, for one. The status of them in the town. The team.
The team itself, I think, stands out.
Is really good.
In terms of success.
Is really good. So he's done a lot of work.
Well, and also, to be clear, the fans are the ones who have put up all these roadblocks, right? Like in terms of investment in the stadium and that sort of thing. The fans are the ones who
not just the fans. The woke fans.
The woke fans.
The mob of A's fans.
The woke mayor. They've sat there. They've chained
woke mayors.
Chained themselves to the Oakland Coliseum and said, "I refuse to let you make infrastructure upgrades." I know that the players
they
like
laid
the
on the ground in front of the bulldozers, and they said, "Save our Coliseum."
It's not a bad idea, actually.
That is a pretty good idea.
All right.
I mean, they'll just leave the Coliseum there. They don't
I
care
know,
about
they'd be
that.
like,
They're
all right,
just
we didn't want to sit
leaving.
here anyway. What do you think? Where do we land?
Run through the options again.
All right. For sale baseball team. Never won.
Okay.
Everything must go.
I love that one.
Okay. And then, in the words of John Fisher himself, it's been a lot worse for me than you.
So, if we use the ethos of this is like when you're in an away town and you see a fan of your team and they say, "Let's go A's." And you say back.
Which is not necessarily how I was thinking about this. I was more thinking along the lines of like, they can't use rooted in Oakland anymore. Right.
Why not?
Well, they officially got rid of it.
Did they really?
Yeah, they don't because they're literally not. They like took down all the banners and everything like that.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah. There's been a whole saga over on A's Twitter where fans are trying to find this like moving truck that's like plastered with rooted in Oakland on it that like used to be in the A's parking lot, and the A's had to get rid of it somehow, and so folks are like tracking it down to like scrap yards, and I don't know. The Oakland A's Twitter does some real investigative work. I just want to shout them out.
Well, they don't have to watch the game, so they have a lot of free time on their hands. I like everything must go. That's my vote.
Yeah.
I love it's been harder for me than it is for you, but that is kind of high concept, a little confusing.
It is.
I don't know that everybody will put that
a little bit
together.
Yeah.
That was like a John Fisher quote.
Yeah.
My vote would be everything must go.
2024, Oakland A's. Everything must go.
For sale baseball team never won. It's funny. Little too online.
It is just a little too online. Also, once again, like doesn't really fit. But come back to me in 3 years.
You could say like for sale baseball team never wanted.
I think we keep that in the back pocket.
For sale baseball team tax evasion scheme.
Right, exactly. I say we keep it in the back pocket until Fisher finally puts the team up.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, great.
Okay.
I appreciate your input on that, by the way.
That's what I'm here for. I'm your Roger. That's the name of the character on Mad Men.
Oh, yeah. That is the name of a character.
What's his last name?
I cannot keep track of the characters' names. I'm not going to lie.
There's a lot of
like
characters.
3 of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters.
Peggy, goated.
Peggy.
Goated.
Legendary.
Goated.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Moss. Is Scientology back?
It's chic.
I mean, it produces.
Right.
Scientology is like the
1,000.
is like the Houston Astros of the acting world.
Yeah, you don't have to love it, but you have to appreciate
You
it.
have to tip your cap.
Okay.
It's time for some questions. Let's start with a voicemail about a topic that I wanted to talk about anyway. This voicemail is from longtime listener Becca. It is about the Colorado Rockies triggering an FAA investigation into the pilot that was flying their charter plane on their recent road trip.
Hey guys, it's Becca. Please excuse my lost voice. I lost it yapping too much. But in light of the Rockies being investigated by the FAA, I have to wonder what other federal agencies would it be the funniest to investigate a Major League Baseball team? Of course, the DOJ and the FTC, that just makes sense. That's not really funny. That would just be good for the game. But there have to be some other agencies that would just conduct a hilarious investigation. Bye.
Becca, thank you for calling. Alex, what are your favorite government agencies?
Department of Energy.
Yes, true. What would they be investigating in the baseball world?
Well,
Any number of the owners.
right, pretty much.
Well, actually, they probably wouldn't investigate them. That's the whole thing. The EPA investigating the A's for the toxic waste
Yeah, right.
coming out of the Coliseum. I have an idea for one.
All right.
This one's not funny.
Okay.
It's something that needs to be done.
Okay.
How about the Department of State investigating what MLB does out of the United States?
Okay. All right. You're right. That would not be funny whatsoever.
The Department of the Interior investigating, just maybe we'll say, an owner who owns parts of the Dakota Access Pipeline,
Yep.
for example.
Mm-hmm.
But really, and this is my actual answer for what would be funny for listeners of this podcast, the United States Department of Agriculture investigating wholesale grocer Bob Castellini for his practices of distributing carrots and other things.
He's got carrots and lettuce and mushrooms, porcini, the vegetable king, Bob Castellini.
Like, just not that they're good or bad. They're just like, we just want to make sure you're distributing these.
I mean, there's something that's definitely not on the up and up in that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
$500 million from carrots,
No way.
leeks,
No way.
potatoes, things of that nature. I don't believe it. I don't buy it.
I'd like to see like the FCC getting involved because like they're picking up on like airwaves that are containing like proprietary information, like teams using advanced radio signals to steal signs or transmit signs.
You think the FCC would get involved?
Look, if they're using secure lines, they may sit there and be like,
the FCC doesn't do shit besides
I
be
know they
like,
don't.
you
I know
cursed
they
on the
don't.
radio, give
Yeah.
us 50 grand.
know.
You know? They don't do that.
What about a team that has been piping like high-pitched noises into the opposing team's clubhouse
Okay.
to induce a form of Havana syndrome
Right.
among the other team?
Call that Atlanta syndrome.
That's right. Who I don't really know who would investigate that though. Is that like the FBI? like what?
You're asking a tough question on account of the fact that that's not real. So who investigates things that aren't real?
The FBI.
The CIA,
Right.
probably.
Okay,
I mean, it happened in Cuba, so definitely it was the CIA who was investigating that.
Right. Yeah.
If it happened on United States soil, I don't know. Maybe the plot of Civil War by Alex Garland might unfold.
Okay.
I think it would probably be the FBI.
Yeah.
They seem like they have broad power. Just
They
a blanket
do.
statement.
It's kind of you can slot them in wherever. Maybe the National Weather Service.
Oh.
You know, if teams are like manipulating airflows to
You think they're using like the weather machine?
right, exactly. Like the
To keep it
Diamondbacks
sunny?
are sitting there like turning up the wind when their hitters are at the plate. and turning it down.
They have a roof. That actually is really good. United States Department of Veteran Affairs, we find out that all of the like Fiserv veteran of the game, they were paid actors.
Seymour Wiener was just a stage name.
Becca, great question. Thank you. Next question is an email. Greg wants to know, would you rather slam your hand in every door you closed or fall down every set of stairs you went down? Tough choice.
Tough choice. I think I'm going to go with the door.
You would rather slam your hand in every door?
Well, because you can avoid closing doors, right? Like you can.
So you're just going to leave every door open?
Well, yes, which comes with its own
open door policy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It comes with its own.
You and I, as co-CEOs of Tipping Pitches,
that's what we have.
An open door policy.
Yeah,
with all of our employees
in our corner offices.
Yes.
There's no real way to avoid taking the stairs in many cases.
It's a problem in America.
I'm in a walk-up apartment that's 4 flights of stairs. If I fell down those stairs every time I left,
I have to say, I was thinking maybe I have a little elevator privilege here in my building.
Yeah,
but I was
like,
it would really suck to slam my hand in every door I close.
That would, yeah.
But then again, yeah, you're right. How often do I close the door? My front door every time I leave my apartment.
Right. Okay.
Tough.
That is tough.
Front
door
door
to start the day.
Front door to the building every time I leave my apartment as well. I gotta take the dog out 3 times a day. That's at least 6 hand slams. We're talking broken
Unless
fingers.
you keep the door cracked.
But the front door? I'm gonna get everybody's packages stolen.
Isn't that already happening?
Yeah, but they put in beefed up security. So now the door is even heavier. It's gonna hurt more.
ADT?
I don't think it was ADT. I think it was local. I think they went mom and pa.
That's good.
Supporting
small businesses.
Yeah, exactly.
You actually volunteered. If they were like, we're looking to recruit a security contractor, and you were like
Baisley Wagner Productions. Yes. Landlords always support small businesses. Because they are small businesses themselves. Woo! We're cooking with gas right now. I do think that the answer is slam your hand in every door you closed. Now the question, it's not specific enough. Like, how hard do I have to close the door?
Exactly.
Like, as hard as I would normally close the door?
Right. Or can I just let it rest on my hand?
Can I be with someone else at all times and tell them to close the door for me and avoid that?
Right.
Loophole.
There you go.
Loophole. But then you have to be with someone else all the time.
Right.
It's like that movie Self-Reliance. Did you see that one?
Nope.
It's on Hulu. Written and directed by Jake Johnson, who's Nick Miller from New Girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a dark web reality show where they hire people to try to kill you. And if you survive 30 days, you get $1 million. But the people can't kill you if you're with someone else. Like if you're within touching distance of someone else. But that means you just have to be within that person's arm's length.
It just sounds like a game that kids make up on the playground. You know,
it's that's kind of Jake Johnson's whole energy.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah,
it's like smokes weed, cracks joke, writes movie. You know, it was good. You should watch it. It's on Hulu.
All right, I'll check it out.
You're not doing anything else?
No.
Besides watching Smart House
and laying down parlays
and Johnny Kapahala back on board. What? Don't you remember on the Patreon episode I was just naming Disney Channel original movies for like 5 straight minutes?
Yes, I do remember that.
Come on, man. Come on.
What's next?
Brink? Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior? Color of Friendship, maybe? Can I interest you in a little motocross?
See, you're just naming the same ones you named last time.
So you do remember.
I do.
Okay, great. Maybe that will influence you. Can of Worms? With an exclamation point at the end. Don't forget the exclamation point when you search for it.
Of course. It's like Panic at the Disco.
Exactly.
Can of Worms.
Panic at the Disco is a bunch of squares. That band stinks.
We don't have time for this.
Next question comes from Zane. The question is, Mets? Question mark?
Nope.
Really? Like you don't think they're good? Earnestly, are they good? What do you think? Do some baseball analysis here.
All right, baseball analysis.
74 minutes into this podcast.
I mean, between Harrison Bader and Ty Ballgame.
All right. Let's be real here. They got real players, too. I know we've been doing a long-running bit about how David Stearns is a fraud.
Right. Although to be clear, all the good players predate David Stearns, pretty much, right? So like,
Yes.
again, it's so hard because I look at the Mets on paper. I'm like, that is a really good base.
Except Adrian Hauser and Luis Severino.
True.
But, Jose Buto is holding it down. He was pre-Stearns.
Always has been.
Buto boys. Unite.
We watched his debut together
On television.
at your home.
Yeah, at my parents' house. They're playing the Phils.
Did not go well.
He sucked bad.
It was really bad.
But he's good now.
Mm-hmm.
You know why?
Get out of his system.
He throws his changeup more. You know who told him to do
Exactly what I
that?
was saying.
D. Stearns.
David Stearns.
That's right.
Masterclass.
Boy genius.
Yeah, the Mets are good.
Yes, they are.
Mhm.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Okay.
Next voicemail.
Hi there, Bobby and Alex. My name's Shreyas. I'm from Ohio. I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener. First, I just want to shout out student newspapers and the friendships that come from them as the visitor of my college's newspaper. And it's a very valuable experience. But second, the main question, I was recently reading Roger Angel's The Summer Game recently, and in one of his essays he talks about how baseball is, a bit different from other sports because it has this demand of perfection from its players. Every movement is marked against an absolute standard, and how there's a certain expectation that is carried with each play as to how it should go, and how the excitement of the game comes from when something happens that breaks our expectations, and that sort of binary aspect of baseball. And that definitely allows it to be tracked by stats more naturally, and makes it more unique. But as two people who don't really keep track of other sports, especially Alex, I thought I'd ask what makes baseball uniquely appealing to the two of you. Is it just that you grew up playing it, or is there any specific philosophical aspects to the sport that you specifically admire? Anyways, keep up the good work. Love all the content. Keep potting. Let's go Mets. Bye.
Let's go Mets. I really like this question. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for this question. I want to be clear, and I want to be on the record. I watch a lot of other sports. I just don't talk about them on a really dumb podcast for 90 minutes a week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just want to be honest. Up front, I consider myself very transparent with the listeners of Doing Pitches. I do watch Italian soccer now. But I actually watch a lot of NBA, and I watch the NHL. I don't watch football. You do not watch any other sports.
I mean,
besides cornhole.
Yes, right.
Exactly. Are you going to watch the Olympics this year?
I keep forgetting those are happening.
I know, me too. Another 4 years have passed.
It's always the kind of thing where it's like, oh, it's here.
Here comes mortality. The Olympics make me feel my mortality because I forget that it was 4 years ago since the last one, and it catches me by surprise every time. I'm 4 years older. I still feel like the last Olympics that happened was Michael Phelps.
Right.
2008.
You're like, is Usain Bolt still running?
Is he? He's not.
No.
But is he? I don't know. That's the tough part with European soccer too. It's like all the dudes so I was like really into European soccer between the years of like 2012 and 2016, 17, 18 because of college. To be clear, I was not in college that whole time. But one of the best players in the world and one of the most beloved and respected players in the world during that time is Luka Modric, who's this Croatian midfielder who has played on multiple teams, whatever. He came into a game in the Champions League the other day, and they were like, here comes Luka Modric. I can't believe he can even stand on his own 2 feet at this point. The man is decrepit. He's ancient. He's like 38.
Yeah.
It's like, we'd be lucky to see him not die on the field today, ladies and gentlemen. He took a PK and he scored it calmly because he's a legend.
Good. Happy for him.
Anyway, now that we've done real diversion on other sports, can we get to this very thoughtful question about Roger Angel's essay and the importance of baseball and why we value it above other sports? What do you think?
I mean, I was very attracted to it growing up because
of A's.
Because of A's. And because I didn't have to do anything most of the time, right?
Oh, playing it, yeah.
Like playing
you
it,
just stood there.
Like you could just stand there, and it was great. Aside from the allergies that I would get standing in the grass.
Yeah, hay fever season. We got to get you on a Nasacort, bro.
Yeah, we do. I know.
I'm like a Nasacort brand ambassador.
Yeah, no free ads.
No, I'll give them a free ad,
except for DraftKings.
If they would like to send me Nasacort for free, I'll plead to them just like if they could send me Olipop.
As someone who really liked being like alone with my thoughts, like that was great because I just get to stand here and just kind of like kick the dirt around a little bit.
Yeah.
You get to like do all the moves that like a baseball player does, you know,
Yeah.
like
You fake it till you make it.
yeah, exactly. Pop some seeds in your mouth. Like it was very like sensorially, is that a word? Enjoyable.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And again, like the rhythms of it are just like
Yes.
really nice to sort of count on.
I loved being outside as a kid.
Yeah.
Less so now. I wouldn't describe myself as agoraphobic, but I wouldn't say that I don't share agoraphobic tendencies. But I loved being outside and just like the fresh air, the time of the year that the baseball season starts always felt so full of potential and excitement. A great way to spend time with your friends, but not, like you said, have to try that hard. I loved being on a basketball team. I loved it. I actually, to address that part of this question, I played baseball growing up. I stopped playing baseball in high school and kept playing baseball throughout all of high school. So I more recently have played organized basketball than baseball, even though I would say that baseball is like my number one sport that I like to watch now and obviously create content about. I still weirdly probably like know more about basketball like strategy and X's and O's because of how competitively I played it at a later age. But there's something about baseball that also, I think, not to try to pull off too high of a wire act here, but there's something about baseball that kind of fits into like our fatalistic worldview where it's like nothing happens for a long time and then something happens and sometimes it seems really unfair and you just have to make peace with that. I like that in a sport. I like the unpredictability of it. It can feel really frustrating, but I think that is what causes the highs to be a lot higher. And it's like torture in sports form to be a baseball fan. Mm-hmm. It's cruel what we do to ourselves here. And that, frankly, appeals to you and I.
Yeah, I think like the sort of mental aspect of it, as torturous as it is also really engaging and what keeps you coming back. Because it is a game that you can dissect to pieces between pitches. And yeah, I don't know, that's fun. It's also just like different from other sports too. Like just in terms of like the setup.
Yes.
I think that
it's not two goals trying to throw a ball into the goals.
Right, exactly. And so like, which isn't necessarily to like, this isn't like baseball exceptionalism necessarily, although maybe it is a little bit, but I think there was something about it that just felt like different. Like it was
certainly more creative,
flexing a different part of my brain. Yeah, exactly.
I think that what's cool about soccer is that it is like the original idea of a sport. And you can't even use your hands. Like it's literally like we're running around kicking this shit. And it's so simple. And obviously, tactically, historically, statistically, it's become more complicated over the years. There's a lot of discourse in soccer about advanced statistics and expected goals versus should we just be playing this for the aesthetic of it, the beautiful game, the teamwork, the sensational moments? Should we not be trying to do what happened to baseball? Blah, 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 blah. But I actually think that baseball is like the polar end of that spectrum of sport. Yeah. And I think it's beautiful. I think both of those, all different types of sports can excite me in different ways on that spectrum of like complicated to simple. And I think that soccer is very simple and baseball is very complicated. Not in the sense that it's complicated to understand the rules if you know them already, but it's complicated to understand what makes things happen.
Yeah.
The causality, the connection, why a guy is playing well versus why a guy is not playing well. It's just like there's a ton of unknown in that. Like what's going on with Francisco Lindor? I don't know. Yeah. That guy's one of the best baseball players alive, and he's at like a 250 OPS.
I know. I mean, David Stearns should just tell him to hit better.
He's heated up a little bit recently. You've been following that?
No. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to wait to see once the Mets make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Okay, next voicemail. I think we did a good job answering that. Yeah. Every once in a while, people are like, why do you guys like baseball?
And it's kind of, we have to take a step back for a second.
Yeah, and be like,
Hey, everybody. This is Joe, heading back from Montreal, Canada. Just listened to last week's episode and mentioned the topic of pitchers falling apart prematurely. And it dawned on me that I think the best solution, most elegant at least, is to take a NASCAR sort of approach and have every team construct their own pitching machines, baseball guns, I guess, effectively, have them operated by pitchers, and fire them directly into the catcher's gloves. Regulated, of course. Every team gets the same equipment. They can modify it however they please. It would save a lot on pitchers' arms, and it would spark maybe a different kind of arms race in the league. Just an idea of the show.
What do you say? The machinification of baseball.
Mm-hmm. I'm on board.
Joe, thank you for calling. Thank you for listening. Respectfully, I hate the idea. not because it's not interesting as a concept, and not because it wouldn't address all the problems in baseball, but just like it's the same reason.
I like seeing pitchers pitch.
Yeah, exactly. I like the differentiation
between
deliveries, bodies, personalities, all these different things that you would just lose. Pitchers are weird, man. If it's just a guy standing behind a machine operating it, I don't know, like you and me could do that.
Right. Max Scherzer like pacing around the mound, muttering to himself before inserting the baseball into the pitching machine.
It just doesn't have quite the same effect. But it is interesting conceptually. I find that interesting about competitive racing as well. Something I don't really follow as closely as a lot of people do, but am aware of the different team efforts and technical challenges that come along with trying to build a race car, and that you could be the best driver in the world, and because your team just built you a shit car for that year, you just like finish in 7th.
Yeah.
That's weird. Interesting. That's storyline.
That's the Lewis Hamilton story right there.
Yeah. Although what's going on with him now? He's racing worse than his teammate at the same.
It's because he's checked
Mercedes.
Out. He's ready. He's ready for
go
Ferrari.
to Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an F1 podcast. I could do it.
We don't need more F1 podcasts.
No, we don't. I do kind of
You're
like...
a big Verstappen guy, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You like his whole vibe?
Yeah. I would be really intrigued to see what MLB teams could come up with building the filthiest pitching machine you can. Because like...
no one would be able to hit it.
No one... right. If you're worried about batters being able to hit pitchers now, no one would be able to do it. You would have to set max velocities and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think he's suggesting that that exists in NASCAR.
Yeah.
So like there's maximum, I believe like maximum horsepower you're allowed to have in the engine. I don't think there's a maximum velocity, obviously, because it's racing, but there's maximum things that you can put into it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would be interested in watching like an alternate league that did something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would check that out, see how that goes.
Yeah.
But please protect my beautiful pitchers. Please protect them.
Should we start doing like coach pitch in the minor leagues?
Coach pitch. I don't know. We'll check with Diamond Baseball Holdings, see what they have to say about it.
Okay.
Pretty soon they're going to have the freedom to make that decision. Okay, next question.
Hey guys, it's Nick. Hopefully you're having a good day today. As one of the liaisons for the Tipping Pitches Slack community, which you should totally join by the way, I feel like it is my obligation to keep the rest of the podcast audience apprised of what is happening in that community. And there's something in particular that's been taking place over the last week that we really need your input on, something that has been essentially tearing us apart for the last week or so. And it all stemmed from a tweet that was sent out on April 4th that sent out basically a picture of all of the different score bugs for all of the different team broadcasts, and basically having people trying to figure out which one do they like better, which ones they don't like, and that kind of started up a conversation for us, and in particular, how the outs are displayed on the score bug. So there are really kind of 3 different categories here, one of which you can display the outs as like a 0 outs and then spell out the word outs, 1 out, 2 outs, whatever. We can leave that aside. The real crux of the issue here is whether or not you display 2 dots to represent the amount of outs or 3 dots to represent the amount of outs. The 2 dots is probably the most common. You put that information there, you're not wasting screen space. A lot of teams have that there with 3 outs. Some people might say that it adds the additional context of giving someone who might not know about baseball the context that you have to make 3 outs in order for the inning to change. So the Dodgers broadcast specifically, as well as the Apple TV broadcast, does 3 dots as opposed to 2. Everyone else does 2. So my question for both of you is 2 dots or 3 dots?
First of all, Nick, hello, sir. Thank you for relaying what's going on in the Tipping Pitches Slack community.
That was a remarkable explanation of the lay of the land.
I mean, this is what he does, detail-oriented, stat head. Yeah. Nick and I are in a blood feud right now.
Okay.
I'm like hating on David Stearns, but also my team took David Stearns. He's a Brewers fan. We clash every once in a while, but we can meet in the middle again. It's like Socratic seminar. We go at each other, but at the end of the day, we're all locking arms in a circle. Do you have strong feelings about? I mean, you have strong feelings about scorebugs and broadcast aesthetics as a graphic designer yourself,
right?
But do you have strong feelings about the outs? Keep in mind, it's better podcasting if you do have strong feelings.
I know, right? I, against all odds, I think, like the 3 dots.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. This is great. Tell me why.
Well, so
tell me why.
as Nick pointed out, the scorebugs that employ this are mostly like national broadcasts, right? Like ESPN,
Yes.
Apple TV, not Fox anymore, because it's just an abomination these days.
Nightmare. But he named the Dodgers.
The Dodgers as well, I think, are the only
a national team.
individual team. Right? Yes, exactly.
It's almost impossible to watch them if you live in LA.
I'll say first of all that I probably prefer just the numbers, like putting the digit. Don't make me count. You see, I have to do math to try and figure out how many.
When you see 1 or a 2, you have to count that manually. You have to be like 1, 2.
No, I'm saying if you're putting 2 dots there.
That's what I'm saying though. You see 2 dots, you have to be like, that's 1.
That's 1,
and that's 2
plus 1. How many outs are there? Yes, exactly.
Fascinating.
I don't necessarily have a well thought out rationale as to why I like 3. I think it serves very little purpose, as noted. Right?
Because once you get the third out,
it flashes on the screen. They put the 3rd out up there, and then the scorebug disappears anyway.
And then you hear a DraftKings ad.
And then you hear a DraftKings ad. But I will say, and this is something that some scorebugs have run afoul of in the past, is clarity on whether the dots are filled in or not.
Yes.
Sometimes you will get 2 dots up there, and you're like, are there 2 outs or are there no outs?
Yeah.
And putting the 3rd one in there, solves that issue. Because you're always going to see if there are 2 outs, there is a 3rd spot there.
But there could be 3 outs and the ump just forgot.
That's
Little
I didn't
League.
consider that.
You remember you'd be playing Little League and you'd just be like, we have 3 outs. And the ump would be like, nah, I think it's 2.
Not by my book. Not by my little clicker.
They're hungover, potentially still drunk from the night before.
I think most of the way that I don't know. I'm out. 3 dots.
So you side with ESPN and Apple is what you're
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Guggenheim Group
exactly.
Investments, whatever.
That G on their jersey looks like shit.
Yeah.
It looks so bad.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like something that I made in 4th grade on Microsoft Word art. God, it looks bad. And it's huge. It's massive. We're just doing the jersey patches episode again.
That we are.
I'm a 2-dot person.
Okay.
I don't like extraneous information. I don't need the 3rd out. It's fundamental to knowing that you're watching baseball that you know that there's 3 outs. Even people who don't know anything about baseball know that it's 3 outs and that ends the inning. Right?
I guess, sure.
If you don't know that there's 3 outs to end an inning, you don't know what an out is. So it's not going to help you to know that you have the 3rd dot, right?
Sure. Okay.
I just like how it looks better with the 2 dots filling that space, rather than when there might be 2 outs, that 3rd dot never gets filled. That bothers me. I'm a completionist.
See, I love it. It's a reminder of how
the goal is always in front of you.
Well, no, it's a reminder that life is ultimately unfulfilling. There's
like
always going to be
baseball.
a dot that will never be filled. Sorry. Just the way it is.
That's good stuff. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Ultimately, I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't really either.
I don't really care. It does actually bother me when you can't really tell how many outs there are.
And that was the Bally sports bug a few years ago had that issue, and then I think they rectified it.
Yes. Yeah, I'm okay with it if you do it like 3 circles and one is like, when you have the out, it's blue and the other ones are kind of like translucent. That makes it obvious enough for me. Yeah, I got nothing else on scorebugs. Seemed like the tipping pitches community had strong feelings.
Mm-hmm.
We were ready to start an Alex Carlin civil war over it.
I still maintain that you can just put 2 outs. The digit 2 and then the word outs.
Okay, let's move on. Next question.
Okay, so given that they've been having all these global games in the past couple of years, which I think are a good thing, to be clear, it does make me wonder how many years out we are from one in Doha or in Riyadh that, like, not really an established fan base, just trying to make some sort of business connection with, like, oil and construction moguls. Yeah, just when's that going to happen? Because it's going to happen. And who would be the other team besides the Yankees to play there? Thanks.
It would definitely be the Yankees.
Yeah.
Honestly, Subway Series in Riyadh? Who says no?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We are not that far out from it. And by I say like we're not that far out, I mean like
with the 10
15
years.
years. Right.
Yeah. I agree.
But like there was the news that there's a baseball league in the UAE and that it's the first like professional baseball league in that region. There were many former MLB stars who have joined in on that venture, guys like Robinson Cano and Nick Swisher and Bartolo Colon.
Wait, are they playing?
Well,
or are they like owning? Because if they're playing, I'm interested. I'd like to watch Bartolo Colon.
They are playing.
Oh, fuck. This episode brought to you by the UAE Baseball League.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Intriguing. Swisher. He's been out of the league for a while.
I get maybe. Yeah, no, these guys. Cano was drafted to a team and also is an investor.
Mm-hmm. This happens all the time in international leagues.
Yeah.
It's like the big 3.
I don't know what that means.
You don't know what the big 3 is? The basketball league where they play 3-on-3.
Oh.
It's owned by Ice Cube. He offered Caitlin Clark like $20 million to play before that WNBA season starts, and she said no. Now that Caitlin Clark has come up, would you like to weigh in on the Caitlin Clark debate?
Good God. No, I want to talk about the Mumbai Cobras.
Okay. I think we're very close to that. I mean, so far, MLB's international expansion has been targeted towards places that the fan base can grow. We've discussed on a few different occasions now at this point why London, probably because they speak English and there's more of a cultural transfer between those two countries. Why Asia? Baseball is massive in Asia. They have yet to expand into South America, where baseball is also big, although there is a series in Mexico City this year, I think.
Right. Well, they take the talent from South America. They don't bring the talent down there.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need to bring the players back down there. They've already seen them all.
Right, exactly. That's for exports.
But once they run out of places where baseball already exists and where there's a fan base that they can pull into their one baseball model, what's next? It's places that will give the money to further business connections. And in the sports world right now, that's the UAE. That's a lot of places in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia that have a lot of money to throw around. I mean, the Saudi Arabian government owns like 12 sports teams.
Why not us?
You could easily see a world in which they try to buy a baseball team. I could see a world in which they try to buy the Yankees. How about that? They own Manchester City. Manchester City's United States sister team is NYCFC. Do you know where NYCFC plays? Yankee Stadium. They're not going to play there anymore, by the way. That's where the Mets are building that stadium for them in Queens.
I think that baseball's owners are too jingoistic and nationalistic to allow actual foreign investment in foreign ownership of a team at this point in time.
I think yes.
I think
now,
once the Cohens and Rubensteins are like,
yes,
when there are more of them,
once the globalists get in the game,
that's right.
Fucking amazing. Okay, let's move on.
Hey, Tipping Pitches. This is Mike Schubert, your favorite, most annoying, obnoxious Yankees fan. I had a question inspired by going to a recent Yankees game and realizing that it's super easy to get to Yankee Stadium and whatever Shea Stadium is called now, Citi Field, right? Yeah, by public transit. It's annoying in other places, right? So what is the most annoying stadium to get to? Like, what is the farthest / most complicated stadium to get to via public transit from like the city center to the stadium of that team's supposed city? Thank you very much.
I don't know.
I looked into this once when we were talking to Neil DeMoss, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Kansas City is the least accessible stadium by public transit. You would have to walk like 10 miles. It might not be 10. It might be like 5 miles, but it's like highway miles. So like you can't walk there. You can't bike there. It's not possible. I've been to Kansas City. It's true. You drive. It's off a freeway. You can see the freeway in the outfield.
Which, like, I mean, to be clear, you are in favor. You're like, I in my
drove
Chevrolet.
There in my Chevrolet.
Young Bobby Moses over here.
I was like, this is really... Come on now. Come on.
I can't power through that one.
I'm not like the power broker. I can't power through. No, man. I'm anti Robert Moses, obviously. Not because of all the racist...
You think he didn't build enough freeways?
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever driven on Long Island? It's a fucking mess. Can I get a 3-lane? Can I get a 4-lane? No? Just another 2-lane?
No, just
Thanks,
one more
Robert
lane, bro.
Moses.
I swear. My city just needs one more freeway lane.
Long Island Expressway is a mess, man. It's a mess.
Nah.
You ever been on the LIE? You ever driven to Melville? Worked at Newsday? No,
Nope,
you haven't. You don't know shit about that.
I wouldn't know.
So I think that Kansas City holds the belt. Every other stadium is hard to get to for the most part. Not all of them, but honestly,
not the A Stadium.
Well,
it's a transit system that drops you off right there.
R.I.P. Yeah, I don't think it's like not hard to get to the Giants either. Really, there's a couple different options for how you can get there. Seattle, there's good public transit options to get there, but the rest of the teams, I don't know. I don't want to speak for like Chicago. I've never been to either of those stadiums. Philly, it's not super easy to get to unless you live in a very specific part of Philadelphia that will take you on one of the 2 subway lines in Philadelphia. One goes north-south, one goes east-west. There's just 2. They cross. That's it. Angel Stadium is really hard to get to. But by Mike's standards, like how hard is it to get to from like the city center? I don't really know, because Anaheim is like not really a city. It's like a big suburb, sort of. I mean, it is a city. It's like the biggest suburb, like that kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like it's literally located under a freeway, and on the opposite side is where the Anaheim Ducks play. It's just under a freeway. You walk out of the parking lot, you're under a freeway. So that's not great in terms of public transit. And I don't know. I don't know about any of the Texas teams. I've never seen any of those teams. But Northeast Corridor, the Acela Corridor.
Nats Park's pretty easy to get to.
Very
I don't know
easy.
if you mentioned that.
Very easy to get to.
Yeah.
I don't know shit about Fenway. Never been.
It's pretty easy.
It's probably hard to get to the Brewers Stadium.
Sure.
I had to take a guess. What did Wonder Boy David Stearns do about that, huh? I don't think it's too much to ask that there should be a train that drops off fans at every single stadium in the United States of America.
What about a gondola?
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, because that's the stupidest idea ever.
No, wait, are you serious? That's an amazing idea.
The Dodger Stadium gondola?
Oh, no, I was talking about the Oakland A's proposed gondola that would take you from downtown to, it would transfer like, a dozen fans at a time.
The Dodger Stadium one's exactly the same. Because it's a fucking
proof of
gondola.
concept. There you go.
There's it doesn't exist yet.
Oh.
This is Eric Garcetti. He was like, we're doing the gondola, guys. Like the gondola. Full go on the gondola.
Stealing Cavill's bit.
I think that they had it going before Cavill. So I think Cavill was the one that stole. But we can have him on the pod.
Cavill's been ideating on this
since college.
Since out the womb.
Yeah, well, it's out the womb. Yeah, exactly. The Dodger Stadium gondola is such a bad idea. God, they have buses that'll bring you to Dodger Stadium, and they're blocked by the traffic of the cars trying to get into Dodger Stadium. So what's the point? I'll just park somewhere very far and walk. Very far and walk. They would never put a train there. You know why? Because Chevrolet. Because the car lobby. They won't let you put a train anywhere in California.
That's why we need the loop. Right? That's why we need Elon. Dig that tunnel, bro.
Dig that tunnel. Yes. Through a mountain to Dodger Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to go really well.
If anyone can do it.
How does it work when you're in the loop and then it gets recalled, but you're like stuck underground?
Oh, right.
Like if you're in a Tesla, when that inevitably gets recalled, you can just hopefully get out if it's not on fire yet because you're above ground. You could maybe like flag someone down, call 911, but you're underground in the loop. It gets stuck. It's actively being recalled. No cell service. What's the plan? How do we get out of that?
In Elon we trust.
Okay.
I tweeted him. Say, sir. Well, first I sign up for X Premium.
Right.
So that my replies are boosted to the top.
You posted him, by the way. You don't tweet anymore.
Sorry.
It's X, the everything platform.
I'll get there one day. One day.
Can we end this podcast?
Yeah.
I'm ready to end this podcast.
Shohei Ohtani homer. That's bad.
That doesn't matter. They already won the series.
Okay.
They took the first two. Easy peasy.
Easy.
This is just fucking gravy at this point.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Exactly.
God, always so in sync.
I feel really... that's nice for Shohei Ohtani. He needed one. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's any time that a player can kind of build up some confidence, get off the schneid, a player like him, when you're standing across the diamond from Titans DJ Stewart, it feels nice, you know? It's like socialism for baseball. Let Ohtani have a couple.
Right.
We don't need them all. Tyrone Taylor, DJ Stewart.
Yeah, home runs for the many, man.
Spread them out. The Mets are better than the Dodgers. Okay.
Your dog's barking, which means it's time for the show to end.
I don't care. People tell me to leave that in, so I'll leave it in. I don't care. Thank you, everybody, for listening. More importantly, thank you, everybody who called in or wrote in for this week's mailbag. It was fruitful. It was fun. I'm glad that we could spend some time answering some listener questions that have been building up over the last couple weeks. Since it's been a while since we directly answered listener questions, between just coming back, all the topics that we had to cover, the hiatus that we took. It's nice to chat indirectly with so many of you. As a reminder, Patreon bonus episodes. We had a great one this past week, a 3 up, 3 down, in which Alex's segment about buildsubmarines.com made me laugh harder than I've ever laughed on this podcast. So you can access that entire back catalog, patreon.com/tippingpitches. That will also get you access to the Slack, where there's spirited and heated debate and discussion about many a topic, as Nick relayed in his question. I think that's everything I have for us, and we will be back next week.
Everybody, I'm Alex Rodriguez. Tipping pitches.
Tipping pitches.
This is the one that I love the most.
Tipping pitches.
So we'll see you next week. See ya!